We'll now look at attributes of a good model, and the first attribute is that it must be parsimonious. So what do you mean by parsimony, the principle of parsimony? It means that uh, we should we should try to keep the model as simple as possible. Okay, now I'll give you the idea, what is the real true idea behind this. So let's say that I'm trying to model your you can say spending behavior. Okay, I'm trying to model your spending behavior. Let's say spending on um, restaurant food or outside food. Okay, and let me call this y. Okay, now this y can be function of so many things. It can be a function of your income. Okay, it can be a function of whether you have a home cooked food available or not, a dummy variable, in fact, home cooked food. Okay, it can be likewise, it can be factor of many other things. Okay, it can be let's say a matter of taste. Okay, and likewise you can add so many variables that can affect your spending on a restaurant food. Okay, so there could be several reasons because of which you might be willing to spend a lot on outside food. One of the reasons can be your mood, because you want to, you just feel like going out and eating something. Okay, uh, the problem here is that there are certain variables which you can always quantify. For example, you can quantify income. You can also quantify whether you like home cooked food or not. You may or may not quantify taste, depending. I mean, you can always ask someone about the taste for a particular kind of a food, right? And you can record the data, but certainly you can't have this data for everyone. Not everyone will probably reveal their true preferences. Okay, so in such a case, you will have no choice but to abstract away from reality. Okay, you'll have to abstract away from reality, and in that sense, remember, a model can never capture complete reality. So you'll have to make peace with the fact that you you will you'll probably have only few variables in your model, and that's the basic idea. You even when the data for these items is available, there is just no point in adding them, because you want to keep your story, you want to keep your data story as simple as possible. Okay, so principle of parsimony is the first attribute of a good model. The second one is identifiability. So it says that a model is identifiable if it is theoretically possible to learn true values of a model's underlying parameters after obtaining infinite number of observations from it. So the idea is that if you can learn the true values of a model's parameter. So basically, now we'll never know the true values. Okay, and this is why he's saying if it is theoretically possible. So which means that uh, we are we are we are basically exploring a theoretical possibility here. Okay, now corresponding to this particular definition of identifiability, what Gujarati says is something like this: the estimated parameters must have a unique value. That is, there must be one estimate per parameter. Okay, which means that now one way to think about this statement would be that true parameter is identifiable. uh, you should have some fair in the sense that when you say that the estimated parameter must have a unique value, it must not be the case that the estimation technique should give you multiple you can say values of these parameters. Okay, and that's like you can say a little vague idea, I would say. The exact idea is slightly more mathematical, and we won't be divulging into those details. Goodness of fit, something which we have covered so many times before. So remember, that purpose of regression is to capture as much variation in dependent variable through the explanatory variable. So this dependent variable yi is always varying. Okay, is always varying, and we are trying to capture this variation. We are trying to capture this variation with the help of explanatory variables, or the xi's. Okay, now a measure of this goodness of fit of or or a measure of the variation in dependent variable explained through independent variable is given by r square, or the adjusted r square in case of multiple regression models, MRM, multiple regression models. Okay, where you have more than one x variables. So goodness of fit, I mean, uh, if your explanatory variables explain maximum percent of variation in dependent variable, it's a good sign. Then it means it's a you can say a model that's likely to be a preferred model. But there are some caveats attached to R square, and for sake of simplicity, we won't divulge into them for now. Probably leave them for your master courses. Okay. Fourth one is theoretical consistency, something which we have discussed right in the beginning of the session, that uh, we must whatever regression results you get, it must be possible for you to validate it through a theory that yes, they do really uh, they do really reflect the uh, predictions of a theoretical model. Okay, so in the sense, in that example which I gave you, that quantity demanded and price. Okay, quantity demanded and price, now I said that they're negatively associated, and so if you regress quantity demanded on price, you should get a negative slope coefficient. Okay, so in that sense, if let's say if you get a positive slope coefficient, there must be a reason why you're getting that positive slope coefficient, uh, and probably would like to dig deep into the data and try to understand it, because of which the anomaly is being caused. Okay, the last one, predictive power. It refers to the ability of a theory to make predictions about a given variable. We should choose a model whose theoretical predictions are born out of actual experience. So remember that ultimately ultimately the idea is that when you basically model y as a function of x2 or x3, so when you look for their estimates, parameter estimates, so in such a case, uh, you're basically trying to engage in some kind of prediction. So let's say that for a given value of x2 and x3, what is my predicted y? Okay, so the model should be able to should be able to give, you can say, a fairly representative prediction about the dependent variable, and these predictions should be reflected in a, you can say, in a theoretical fashion as well. So for example, the same law of demand example which I gave earlier, you can use that example to understand what do we mean by predictive power. So for example, if I estimate a regression equation that where quantity demanded is regressed on price. Okay, and let me estimate this regression equation, and if I get beta 1 as negative, now in such a situation, uh, there's nothing to worry about, because it's a relationship that I expected. Okay, it's a relationship that I expected, that there will be a negative relation between the quantity demanded and price. Okay, so that's the idea of predictive power.